This hangout is live, it says. Well, howdy do, y'all. This is Tom the Beer Whisperer, and pulling up a stool at the pub with me today is Red Rooster and Scott White. We talked a little bit about Scott last time. Now, the only real format to what I do here with this particular thing is there really isn't a format. My Drinking with the Beer Whisperer spots, I have a subject or a beer. Right now, we're doing this as kind of like a pub conversation. I don't want folks reading from Wikipedia or having prepared statements. We're just kind of winging it, and then typically we talk about the beer, and we're all drinking a beer or something. I've got beer and whiskey actually, but I think we all just heard today that Lemmy Kilmister from Motorhead had passed away. He was 70 years old. The only details I heard was that it was a fast-acting cancer. And most of you know my story, or my wife and I. We lost our son to leukemia. He had a very aggressive strain of ALL. So I want to share a quick story, then I'm going to let you guys talk. Um, Seamus, I learned about Motorhead as a teenager. I can even remember right now the first time I heard Ace of Spades. But Seamus didn't learn about Motorhead through me. He learned about Motorhead through a video game. It was SXX on Tour, and the song was Overkill. Either of you guys familiar with that video game? But anyway, Overkill was on it. But Seamus really loved that too. So there's a store here called CD Warehouse. You could so we'd go in there, we'd buy all the discs, we bought as much as we could, anything we could find used, and he became a Motorhead fan from there. So, but he was one of the true characters. Lemmy was one of the true characters of rock and roll. He was a known Jack and Coke drinker, and unfortunately, I don't have any Jack here, but I am going to hoist a little bit of whiskey in his honor. Uh, so those are my thoughts. He was a, a great talent, and he's certainly going to be missed, especially with the state of what music is today. But that's another topic. So I'm going to Red or Scott. Either of you have any thoughts on the matter?
Well, I was a pretty big Motorhead fan, especially in the early to mid '80s when I was in the Marine Corps, and I was a big metalhead, and of course, Motorhead was a very influential band. They influenced a lot of metal bands, and I had some Motorhead on cassette tape. Not sure I'm dating myself there, Tom, huh? So
Yeah.
yeah, I was sad to hear that he went because I like that band a lot. Some of the songs that you mentioned, I have probably still somewhere on a CD somewhere. I don't know if I actually put any of them on my iPod, iPhone, but I think I will because I really did like that band a lot. He had a very distinctive voice. He was a great bass player, and they were just a kick-ass band. I'd always wanted to see them. I've seen a lot of metal acts over the course of the years, but Motorhead was one that I missed, and I'm kind of regretting it now. But hey, all I can say is I'll raise a glass to Lemmy myself, and good luck, Lemmy. We'll see you on the other side.
Well, Scott, you're the youngster of this particular group, so you have any thoughts on Motorhead and Lemmy Kilmister?
Well, first of all, it kind of like, I don't know how do I want to say this. It really kind of bothered me a little bit. I did hear, like everybody knows as of right now, he supposedly just found out about this acting cancer. I was reading an article. He just found out about it the other day, and I was sitting here on the couch last night, and I seen a post that was mentioning him even last night. I mean, it wasn't nothing to do with his terminally illness, but I was like, well, hey, so and so looks like him, some people that we know, and it was kind of funny because I was sitting there mentioning him. I was showing my wife a picture of him, and we were sitting there talking about it. I didn't delve into that kind of music. As you guys know, I'm like kind of like the young pup of the group. and it's just like I didn't really get into it, so therefore I can date myself on this with age. And it was odd because it was about this time of night we were sitting there talking about him, and then I come home from work and the post was up about his passing. I was kind of like taken back because I was like, hey, we just talked about this man last night, and all of a sudden he passed away today. So it was kind of like a little eerie.
Yeah, I mean he was something. I did mention that the Red is actually right on. I mean he was distinctive. The vocals were distinctive. He clearly wasn't a singer, but he was a great rock vocalist. And guys like that are just missing in today's music sound. He was really something, and he was a better bass player than folks want to give him credit for. He was an amazing bass player, especially because he toured mostly as a three-piece power trio. So when you do that, you need to be one monster of a bass player.
Yeah,
So anyway,
I
we all
agree.
want to tribute and raise a glass to Lemmy. You guys want to say anything else?
No, just that I enjoyed his music. I enjoyed watching some of his performances, and I'm definitely going to go out and get some Motorhead for my iPhone.
So we're all at the pub here having a beer, and what I pulled out for this particular session is I don't know if you guys can see that. Let me get the label up there where you can read it because I know I'm going to pronounce this wrong. This is from Urban Chestnut. Yeah, my lighting director finally showed up. I forgot to turn the light on. It's called Hullermuffel, and I hope I'm pronouncing that somewhere close. It is a smoked Bock lager, 7%, 22 IBUs. Let me show you the color because it's just gorgeous. It has this beautiful kind of ruby hue to it. Can you see that there? Kind of a
Looks
light
good.
ruby. And that's the reason why I chose the whiskey I did, because I've got this smoked Bock, and and the whiskey I'm using is from Rocktown Distillery out of Little Rock, Arkansas, and it is a hickory smoked whiskey that uses a wheat mash. How about y'all? What are you guys pop? What's the bartender serving you all tonight?
Let's see. I'll go next. All right, I've got from the Narragansett Brewing Company a beer called Big Mammy Indestructible American Pale Ale. It's 4.5% alcohol by volume. This beer is brewed named after the USS Massachusetts, which was a battleship that was in World War II. And anybody who's from southern New England has been to Fall River, Massachusetts on a class trip, has been to Battleship Cove. And Battleship Cove is where the USS Massachusetts is now a museum and park where you can actually go on and look at it. And this battleship was called Indestructible because it had a lot of missions in the Navy. It was one of the first World War II battleships in the war, and it was one of the last ones. So it's a very important battleship, and it was going to get scrapped, but what happened was the people of Massachusetts, Rhode Island, all of New England wanted it saved, so they raised the money and they saved it and turned it into a museum. So I remember going as a kid to the on a class trip to go see Big Mammy, so that was pretty cool. So it's called an American Pale Ale. It's amber in color, a little darker than a lot of ones we're used to today. Got a really good malty nose. Got a really nice, fragrant, hoppy nose. The citrus palate's firm. Good malt sweetness in the palate, and very bitter finish. So, really well done pale ale. Not an IPA. I would say it's more of an American pale ale. It's definitely, using probably Cascades, maybe Centennials. I'm not sure of the hop varieties, but it's a classic American pale ale along the lines of Sierra Nevada, and it's very, very good. It's a very drinkable beer. It comes in a 16-ounce can, 6-pack. So I'm very happy drinking this one.
Well, how about you, Scotty? What you popping tonight?
Well, before I get into the beer, if anybody would like to, if they have not been to or seen a lot of the ships or scenery that comes from Battleship Cove, I was actually there this summer, and I have all of my pictures that were taken of that
Oh, wow.
day are saved up on my my Google page. Just look under my photos, and there's a whole slew of them. There has to be like almost 200 to 300 different photos of
Oh, wow.
all the ships. I got really in depth and really in detail with everything that was on the ships. Anything that was displayed, I was like kind of snapping photos of everything because it was just amazing.
It is
But
very cool. I mean, go ahead, Scott.
no, go ahead. I mean, I enjoyed it really, really much. I mean, even my son, I mean, he's only 6 years old, and he loved it. He loved being up on top of the ships. He loved, we held him up to get a photo of him on the gunners. He really enjoyed himself. I was thrilled.
Yeah,
But
it's really awesome. If anyone takes a trip to New England, I highly recommend going. I mean, I went, like I said, as a boy a number of times with school trips, and for whatever reason, I haven't taken my own children. I should the next time I get up that way, and I try to get to New England at least once or twice a year. I'm going to take them up to it and uh, have them take a look because it is just as Scott said, very, very impressive.
but as for the beer, gentlemen, I am drinking this very lush and very juicy double IPA. This was just released. I have a can here for y'all to see. I just did a review of it just recently. It is the Samuel Adams Rebel Raw. This is a double
Oh, right
IPA,
on.
comes in at 10% hazy from the hoppiness. It gives you tons of information on the back of the can, as you can see here. Sorry, the lighting's a little poor. I'm like facing away from the light, as you can see. And I know people harp about Sam Adams, but I don't know why they have done this. But there's a slight turning point. I don't know if it's one of those, hey, you got to feed the masses kind of things. Go with the trend, which they never have been. They've always done their own thing. They've always been their own company, their own brand, and they've always just said, heck with what everybody else is doing. We're just making beer as we see fit, which I applaud them for that because, like I told you, gentlemen, I do love the originality to the beer. I love original styles. I love, being able to sit there and say, okay, does it match stylistically? Okay, it is. But then again, you just want a beer to drink beer? Okay, grab one of theirs and say, okay, this is one that doesn't quite fit the style, but it's kind of there, but it's an enjoyable beer. Sit back and enjoy it. But this one will knock you for a punch. I mean, it creeps up on you. Really dark, hazy. You see that like kind of like grapefruit color there, and that's just what it is. Aroma is passion fruit, grapefruit, papaya, mango, lychee nuts, all that. And it's got a nice
Wow.
malty backbone just to kind of balance it out. It's there. You can feel it. You can taste it. It's kind of, in my opinion, one of the better made double IPAs. That it's not, oh, we're gonna pack this full of hops just to kill your palate, so you're not gonna drink nothing else for the evening.
Hey, Scott, you happen to know the distribution on that? I've been looking for it ever since I first saw you post a photo, and I haven't found it in my neighborhood. Would you have any information on when that's going to
I can
drop?
I can just give out what they have given out so far is that this is the first release. It's going to kind of resemble the Stone and Joy by, kind of like how that distribution worked
Oh,
out the very first
gotcha.
time.
Okay.
This one is coming out. It's in the Massachusetts/Boston area. It hit New York. It's hitting Philadelphia, D.C., Chicago. So it's out there. I had to trade for this one. I didn't even get it in my neck of the woods yet, but when it does, I'll definitely be stocking the fridge up for that.
Well, right on. Well, as I told you, I'm having a smoked Bock from Urban Chestnut, and if there's one thing that Urban Chestnut does right, and they do a lot of things right, is make traditional German styles. That really is their home run swing. And this one, I mean, the nose is a whole lot of smoke, and of course with the Bach, you always get dark fruit like plums and figs and okay, I'm kidding, but I just. Anyways, no, you're not supposed to get any of that. This is smoked barley, so you get that big smoked barley smell. I mean, and then of course there's a little bit of sweetness. This beer should be a little sweet. It should be a little malty. It should be a little sticky. I see a lot of websites and beer descriptions changing. Traditionally, dark fruits weren't found in this style, but now I'm seeing websites. Now I'm seeing websites. Now I'm seeing websites. Now I'm seeing websites describe their beer. They usually use words like could have or might have. This beer should not have fruits in it, my friends. You should get a whole lot of malt. There's only 22 IBUs. The hops in this beer are just meant to keep it clean. They're very earthy right at the end, just to keep it from getting too sweet.
And it's kind of funny that you mentioned a box style beer, because last night while I was out, I stopped in and had I might be messing this name up, the Kallenbacher. It's an ice bock.
Yeah, Kuhnbacher.
Yeah.
Reichelbrau Ice Bock. Yeah.
Yep, I love that beer.
Awesome. Yeah, Tom, to get back to your point there, I think what's happening a lot with the marketing in a lot of these breweries, their marketing departments, to help people kind of wrap their head around what this beer is and what the style is, they like to use a lot of these flowery descriptors that have become part of the quote-unquote beer lexicon. Normally that was associated with wine, so you're going to have people starting to put things in like fruit and plums and peaches and pears and raisins and grapes, God knows what else. But if you drink double bock, and if you drink double bock for any amount of time, if you asked any German brewer, I think most of them would tell you, if you're finding all these estery, fruity characters from the yeast, or some people are even trying to say the fruits are coming from the malts, and that's possible in some cases, but not in this style. I mean, I've been drinking double bock for probably close to 30 years. I went to Germany, and when I went to Germany, it was in January, so double bocks were around, and I probably drank, I don't know, maybe 25, 30 different examples of double bock. I actually went to this brewery called Ondex. Have you ever heard of it? They're in Bavaria. That actually came to the U.S. market just last year. For years, their double bock was known as the best double bock on the planet. And I went to Ondex just to drink double bock. Okay, so I don't claim to be an expert on double bock, but I'm very, very, very familiar with the style. And I can tell you, drinking that beer style for years, I'm not getting plums, I'm not getting peaches, I'm not getting any of this horse shit that these people are coming up with. I understand sometimes the whole thing with the prune or maybe raisin. I get what they're trying to get at, but really, if you understand how this beer is brewed in the process in double decoction, what you're tasting, it's called malt. And that's all I'll have to say on that.
Now, I'm sorry to interrupt you guys, but that happens to be one of my favorite styles of beer, if not the favorite style of beer. And when I hear people come up with these off helter-skelter kind of descriptions, it's like, really? I get everybody's palate is different. I get that, maybe someone's picking out flavors that I don't get, or maybe I'm getting them that they don't get, but like you said, if you know how the general style is made, it's like the biggest flavor that you're possibly getting in a Doppelbock happens to be, malt. It's going to be big, malty, bready, biscuity, It's going to bring out all those caramel flavors, maybe a little bit of roasted malts, carafa,
It's going to be
caraform,
rich.
all
It's
that.
going to be toasted. Yeah. Hey, I've said this before in other videos. I just think a lot of it's perception. I think, people can only taste what they're familiar with. And I think with today's craft beer, it seems like everything has to have dark fruit in it. So I think these folks are just relating the flavor to dark fruit, even though that's not really what they're tasting. You think?
I
I would,
agree with that
yeah.
100%. I don't mean to interrupt, Scott, but that's what I think it is. I think what's happening a lot of times is they're going by what their perception of what they think it should taste like. And I think a lot of times if they're reading, say, for instance, the BJCP style guideline, and they said this could be in this could be in this, and maybe this, it seems like some of them are reaching to find things that aren't there. So that's my take on it.
I would also think that when they're reading those kind of style guidelines, they're trying to reach for professionalism, but at the same time, even if it says it might be there, if it might be there, or if it say it could be there, they're taking that as just word. They're like, okay, well, I seen that they said that this could be there, so that's what I'm getting.
Right.
And it's just not that. I mean, that's the specific reason why I do my videos the way I do them when I post up reviews, is because of the fact that, I am only giving you information that is on this can or in the bottle. I'm not giving you any kind of professional descriptions because of the fact that, I'm not going to say I brewed the beer so I know exactly how it's supposed to taste. I'm just telling you exactly what I taste from all the different styles that I've had, and I don't discondone reading the descriptions from, say, BJCP, but at the same time, learn them on your own.
Well, that's the problem. Some of these beer reviewers, they've got the flowery descriptors, they have the lexicon down, and they've actually gone out and printed out copies of the BJCP, and they're reading it verbatim. But just because you have all that information at your fingertips doesn't necessarily mean you understand what you're drinking. And I can give examples of these beer reviewers on YouTube's, and I won't mention the name, but there are some people that really have absolutely no clue what they're drinking, even though they've got all the descriptors and this is what the style should be, and they've got all the stylistic parameters down because they're parroting what they're reading, but they really have no clue of what they're drinking. They don't understand what they're drinking. If you're drinking a double bock and it tastes like a fruit salad to you, it's either a horrible example or you have no fucking clue what you're drinking. That's it.
Right. That's just what really burns my butt, is because of the fact that, okay, I'm going to go out, I'm going to buy said beer, and I'm going to sit here for the next 2.5 hours, and I'm going to read every description that's posted on Rate Beer or Beer Advocate, and I'm just going to write them down, and that's my review.
That's a joke.
You're right.
Yeah, you do see a lot of, and that's why Red and I were talking last time. There's a handful of guys that we really like. I mean, for me, if I'm going to read review from a contemporary beer reviewer, the guy I like to read the most is the Brew Guru, because he covers all the aspects. He always gives you history about the beer in the brewery. He always has a personal story that ties himself to the beer, and then he gives you, detailed tasting notes. So for me, that's the guy. Everybody should be, everybody that I meet that's new to craft beer, that's where other than the classics, of course you got to steer them towards Michael Jackson. But if you're looking for a contemporary beer reviewer, you got to read the Brew Guru, because he's the one guy out there that really knows what he's talking about.
Right, and that's the reason why everybody that is like in my age bracket or even older or younger, and they're getting into this world that they have no idea about, or the craft beer industry, period. I always direct them, especially not only to the Brew Guru, but I tell them, hey, if you're on Facebook, come check us out. Honest Craft Beer, just search it up in your little top engine right there, and come find us. The admins will be likely to help you out and, help you understand just what you're kind of confused about, or you don't know about, or maybe you're just getting into this, we'll help you. Check out the posts.
I agree. Hey, Red, do you guys think that some of these guys just kind of suck the fun out of it? I mean, it feels like some folks are just being way too pretentious and way too serious. If you offer any constructive criticism, folks get their panties in a wad. I mean, am I alone in this? Am I the only one that thinks this? I just feel like some folks are just sucking the fun. I don't know why we just can't have a beer and enjoy it and relax.
Yeah, I mean, the culture's changed a lot in the last 10 years. I think there is a lot of pretentiousness. It's always been there. You've always had a very elite core of douchebags that have always been beer geeks that I particularly loathe. I've never called myself a beer geek. I'm just a beer drinker. I just like to drink beer. I hate that aspect of it. It's become, kind of ramped up with this whole hipster movement and the whole thing with calling these beers whales and tickers and all that horse shit. I mean, I'm not into any of that crap at all. I can't stand that part of the culture. I can't stand. It's great that there are a lot more breweries now. We get a lot more choices. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. I mean, you got to take the good with the bad, but in the end, and I think we said this the last time, Tom, it's just beer. So you pick and choose what you like, and if you don't like some of the stuff going around, you just have to ignore it and you just turn it off. So that's that. But I'm glad that we're here having this discussion. I'm glad it's like you've set this YouTube video up like it's you're going into a bar and just talking with some guys at the bar. I'm glad that we're drinking beer and whiskey and nobody's bringing in dollar store tea or water.
But
Beer and whiskey. Yeah, you know what? I'm not going to toast the great the great Lemmy Kilmister with tea. No, he deserves whiskey. And I wish I had some Jack Daniels because I know he was a Jack and Coke drinker. But wow, yeah, you know what? I mean, it's just I do feel like some folks are sucking the fun out of craft beer. I just try to avoid those conversations. I hate the term whale. I'm with you. I think a lot of folks are in it to be collectors rather than beer drinkers. I think there are some folks that are both, but there are a lot of guys just buy stuff so they can brag about what they have, and they've got no intention of drinking it with you.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
I totally agree with that, especially around here. You guys have seen me post up photos and videos and whatnot from one of my favorite spots. It has to be 101 bottles of beer on the wall here, right across the street. Exactly across the street from Kent State University. And it's a nice place. You don't have to talk to people if you don't want to. You can sit there and enjoy your craft beer in peace. There are very nice people there. There's very well knowledgeable staff. But every now and then you still get that pretentious jackass that sits at the bar and will only drink, like, say, the $17 keep the glass beer because of the fact that he's like, oh, this just came in. This is the best.
Yeah.
Why is it the best? How can you compare it to everything else that you drank? Okay, I understand that maybe, you think it's the best, but is it really?
Yeah, I agree.
So we have a very diverse group of people drinking craft beer now. Again, I think it's a good thing, but, you're going to always have those assholes, so you got to take the good with the bad. But, we've got the good here, so I'm happy with that.
Well, I gotta say something here. I've noticed as I'm sitting here. See, typically if I pour myself, I pour 2 shots in my Rocktown glass, my Glencairn nosing glass, and I've got a 16.9 ounce bottle, a 500 milliliter bottle of the Urban Chestnut. Now, typically if I was by myself and writing a review or something online or doing a video, it would take me about an hour to drink these 2. But I'm sitting with you guys and having a beer, and all of a sudden my beer's almost gone and my whiskey's almost gone. So my question is, do you guys find if you're at the pub drinking and talking to folks, do you drink faster? Because I seem to.
I do as well. I'm actually on my second beer. I've moved on to the Narragansett Allie's Donuts.
Good.
Double chocolate porter. Okay, so this one is a 5.5% alcohol beer, and this beer doesn't have any donuts in it, but it's very sweet and malty, and it has a really good dark, bittersweet chocolate character to it. It's got a little bit of roast. It's a little bit of coffee, but the chocolate character comes through really, really good in this one. This is there's a local donut shop in Rhode Island. If you're from Rhode Island, it's called Allie's Donuts. Yeah, it's kind of a legendary place. They opened up in the late '60s, and it's one of those places that they open up every morning, and there's a line out the door to get their donuts. It's just the one store, and they're knocking out everything. Everything's made from scratch. I mean, whenever they bake up in the morning, and when it's done, it's done. So Narragansett paired with them and did this chocolate donut porter, the double chocolate porter, and I got to tell you, fantastic. If you like Young's double chocolate or any of these chocolatey porters, you're gonna love this beer. It's great. So only available in certain markets where Narragansett is. My brother actually gave me some of this for Christmas, so if I can get a can or two to you guys, I'd be more than willing to do it. You'll like it, trust me.
That sounds lovely. Have you ever had that? What was it? The Imperial Donut Break?
I don't think so. Who makes that, Scott?
It was by, I can't remember the company off the top of my head. It was the same people who made the biscotti break.
I'm not familiar.
Oh, throwing me off here a minute. Yeah, I can't remember. I had it, but what they did was they brewed this imperial porter base, and they put in 1,000 glazed donuts into their brewing tank.
You're kidding. Oh my gosh.
And it was just insane. Why does that sound like I'm gonna have to look that up and get back to you because I've had it, but it was so good, and you got that sugary glaze from it, and you got like kind of like that donut-y flavor from it. It was an amazing beer. I mean, that had to have been one of the best. How do I want to say it? Like spiced or flavored porters, for that year.
Well,
Very
since
cool.
we're talking about
I've had beers like that too.
Since we're talking about these flavored or specialty beers, my second beer is Absence of Light from Four Hands. It's a chocolate peanut butter milk stout, and my odd whiskey pairing is staying with Rocktown. It's a Rocketown. Let me show you the bottle there. It's Rocktown, Arkansas Single Barrel Reserve Bourbon Whiskey. This is cask strength. It's 58.3%. So if you're keeping score out there, that's 116.6 proof. And I poured myself. I thought I put a shot glass here, but I didn't see it. So I've got a pretty good eye for a Glencairn, so I'm guessing that's just shy of a 2-ounce pour if I poured correctly. It's a little over a jigger pour, I can tell by looking at it. But this whiskey isn't playing. You guys, if you Scott, I know you drink some whiskey. Rocktown out of Little Rock, Arkansas. It's a small micro distillery, and they're doing some of the best stuff on the planet right now. If you ever happen to make it my way for whatever reason, man, that's one place you gotta hit. It's about a 4-hour drive from here, and they are just amazing.
Not bad. When I was up in Boston, I missed out on the chance of going to. They have a new distillery open up there. I think I mentioned it to you guys a few times. I talked to one of the distillers, and I got word from who's actually owns it. Do you guys happen to know the second owner of Boston Beer Company?
No, I do not.
Her name was Rhonda.
Oh, Rhonda Callum. Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Yes, she now owns this distillery.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
Yeah, and it's actually
right. She had a brewery.
Yeah, evidently that kind of folded up. I remember her using what was that, Rocket?
She
It
was
was
trying to
the
make a beer with caffeine in it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was Rocket something. I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but she now owns this distillery and she works with Boston Beer Company to do some special barrel aging with some of their whiskeys, the bourbon barrel age. Um, I wish I had gotten up there during this year for the holiday season. She said that she was barrel aging the Merrymaker in bourbon barrels.
Wow,
Wow,
that sounds great.
that sounds pretty awesome. Hey, I just realized, guys, that I didn't give tasting notes on my uh, hickory smoke whiskey, so I'm just going to do a quick synopsis since I've already drank it all. It's a lot of hickory smoke. I've described this whiskey before as if Americans invented Scotch. That's what it tastes like. It uses a wheat mash, so it's very soft. It's a little bit sweet. It just has just this silky texture, and then that beautiful hickory smoke all the way through it. And drink now. I've got this big bourbon, and you think it'd be hot for all that proof. And man, I gotta tell you, I'm gonna take a drink in front of you so you don't see me make a face. Watch this. That's 116 proof, my friends. And you
Wow.
didn't see a grimace one. That is how smooth this is. It is very sweet up front. There is a whole lot of charred white oak going on. Uh, there's a lot of sweetness. I'm not going to say caramel. I'm going to say more of like a burnt brown sugar, not quite caramel, almost more toffee like because there's some nutty like notes. Um, and there's more going on, but I just don't want to talk long. I just kind of wanted to give you kind of a brief. This thing's amazing. I'm going to take one more drink, and I'm going to let somebody else talk just so you can see how smooth this is again. 116 proof whiskey. There is no grimace at all.
That's kind
Well,
of the reason why I like Blanton's bourbon.
Mm.
uh,
Yeah,
that
Blanton's
that is
special.
that is spectacular bourbon.
Yeah,
I
That's
love
Blanton's
it.
pretty special.
yeah. That
And
is
actually, this
really
runs about the same price point as Blanton's.
Oh, that's not bad at all then.
nice. All right. Well, let's see. Since we're breaking out the booze, this is the Beer Whisperer Pub where we drink
Well, come
beer and
on, we
whiskey.
can do anything here. It's our pub. We can do anything we want.
You know, and
Oh,
next time you have some vagrant try to wander into the pub and ask for a glass of water or want some dollar store tea, show them the fucking door and say, "Take a walk, buddy."
Yeah, you know what? I'm not going to get into that particular topic other than to say, it was Christmas. I was trying to let bygones be bygones, and it kind of worked against me. I guess sometimes you just, how do I want to say this the right way? I don't want to say, you know, there are people that you kind of click with, and sometimes there's people you kind of want to be friends with. There are certain aspects you like about them, but then there are other things that just really rub you the wrong way, and I just kind of, that whole experience kind of worked against me. I felt like I tried to do the right thing. I tried to offer an olive branch, and I kind of felt like I kind of got stabbed with it at the end. In fairness, I don't want to mention his name here, but he did apologize to me later. But I mean, I want to keep this a friendly pub, so we're just, I want to talk about stuff that we would typically talk about in a pub. I don't want folks coming on here with prepared statements or reading from Wikipedia. Let's just have a conversation.
Yeah, well, like I said, since we're keeping on the theme of drinking beer and whiskey, or beer and spirits, I've got myself a bottle of Sea Hag Blueberry, and
Oh,
I got this
nice.
on vacation when I was up in New Hampshire over the summer. It is a
So,
rum.
so hey, can I ask you a question real quick, Red?
Yep.
So how about, I wonder if there's any way you could turn your camera on and duck out of the shot and just show us what it looks like. Just put your hand up.
I'll send I'll send a picture to you when you post it up on. I've actually posted this up before, but when I was in New Hampshire on vacation earlier in the year, excuse me, I stumbled upon this distillery actually looking for a brewery. It's in Northampton, New Hampshire, and they brew mainly rum, and I think they do a couple other things. But what's really nice about the Sea Hag, it's their rum, and they add wild Maine blueberries to the rum. So It's
Oh my
like
gosh.
let me pour myself a
That
little.
sounds awesome. That sounds wow. You and
Yeah,
I might have to do have a conversation off camera where we can work out a trade with. I'll send something local to you. You send me something like that back.
sure, sure. But this rum is excellent because it's got all
Mm.
the notes, the aromas and flavors of a really good dark rum. I mean, you're getting the molasses, you're getting the vanilla, you're getting the oak from the rum barrel, but on top of that, you're getting this really nice, sweet, sour, fragrant, wild blueberry aroma, and it
Nice.
Wow.
carries through
Wow.
with the finish. It finishes gently. You know they suggest that you drink it neat, like I'm drinking it, or you could put like soda water in it and make kind of like a rum and soda type deal. This would probably go good with ginger beer, like if you were going to do a dark and stormy, but do this
Hmm.
instead of just a dark rum, and put a little lime in it, maybe throw a couple blueberries in it. The blueberry really works well with the rum. I would have never thought to
Nice.
put wild made blueberries in a rum, but I got to tell you guys, phenomenal stuff. So let me
Brett, I
take
didn't
my
ask
shot.
you. Is that an aged rum?
No, well, yeah, I think they age it for a short time anyway. It's barreled, and I think they
Mhm.
actually aged it with the blueberries. So
Aged
the
rums are
blueberry
becoming very popular right now, much like whiskeys. It's becoming a whole different thing.
really has great character in this, and it's 80 proof, so it's not the strongest rum I've had, but it's definitely one to sip and savor. So I'm enjoying that, and it's going well with the porter. A little bit of this blueberry rum and a little bit of porter, and I'm a happy man.
Well, Scott, you got a great big double IPA there, but are you gonna, join the
I have
two of
actually
us and
slipped
pour another
over.
whiskey?
I kind of felt content when I'm like, oh, some of my peers happen to yeah happen to be sipping on something a little bit more physique, a little bit more spice, a little bit more alcohol. I switched over as well, and what I switched over to, it is still beer. I don't care what anybody says, because I switched over to the 2013 Sam Adams Utopia.
Oh, see, now you're just bragging. Now you're just bragging. Gosh darn it. Yeah,
and
I know you got. Hey, how many vintages of that do you have, sir?
I've only had two bottles. I had the 10th anniversary, and I've had this one.
So, as somebody that's not familiar with that, tell us about the Utopias.
The Utopia, number one, like I said, it is a beer. It is specifically, brewed as a beer. It is the general base is kind of like I want to say it's more along the lines of a stock ale, or an
Mm,
old ale. It's just brewed
gotcha.
with tons of malts, really loads of malts, and they put in some hops, kind of do
What's
the
the
same thing that
ABV
what
on
they
it?
do. Yeah, it's just to preserve the flavors and just be a balancer. And then they
What's
take
the ABV on
what's that?
it? What's the ABV on it?
This one clocks in at about 28%.
So 56 proof if it was whiskey.
Right, right. But they blend this beer over the several months. It's only released every couple of years, every 2 years, I believe. But they take the Millennium, the Triple Bock, and there was one other beer that they take and they blend them all together to their flavor profiles and their likings, and then they blend it all together with the base beer, and they release it as is.
Wow.
But I mean,
Well,
as a flavor profiles, I mean, you're getting ungodly amounts of flavor profile. Maple syrup, brown sugar, port, whiskey, wine, um, cognac, you name it. You can pretty much pick it out of here.
see, it's as somebody who spent a whole lot of time in bars, pubs, taverns, saloons as a kid. I like when folks come to the bar and order an appropriate drink. You got Red and I drinking whiskey. You popping open, the utopias. Things just got special up in here.
Oh, it did, my friends.
Well, Tom, I mean, I don't know how to take that. I mean, what are you? Who are you, Dean Martin?
You know what? I am channeling the. I tell you what. If there was one guy I can go back in time and have a drink with, that would be my guy. A lot of folks would say Sinatra, and I'm not dissing Sinatra by any means, but there was something inherently cool about Dean Martin. You know what I'm saying? That guy, the way he drank, the way he talked, just everything about that guy. He was the epitome of cool, in my opinion.
Well, maybe maybe a Jackie Gleason, Tom. You know, from the Jackie Gleason show.
Thanks.
Apparently, Jackie Gleason ad-libbed everything, even when he was on the Honeymooners. He just
Jackie
basically
Gleason was a very funny guy. Yeah.
If we're all going to be parts of the Rat Pack, I'm going to start breaking out the cigars.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, I wish I had one. But yeah, you know what? Jackie Gleason is actually give him credit. The Honeymooners. A lot of folks in television say if you watch every Honeymooners episode, it covers every sitcom scenario. Every sitcom scenario since then has been a ripoff from the Honeymooners.
Yeah, he was legendary, and he was a funny guy. And then on his Jackie Gleason show, supposedly in that coffee cup, it wasn't coffee that he was drinking. So.
Yeah, I heard those stories as well. Yeah, you know what? To be compared to the great Jackie Gleason, I'll take that. Being a short, fat, obnoxious guy, Jackie was a tall guy though. But yeah, I'll take that compliment all day long.
Cool. So,
hey, let me give you some quick tasting notes on my chocolate peanut butter beer, and then we'll talk about something else. But the nose on this thing is just gorgeous. It's huge dark chocolate, maybe like a 70% dark chocolate, and a whole lot of peanut butter. But it blends very well. I don't know. Trader Joe's used to sell these dark chocolate peanut butter cups, and I used to get them because Reese's peanut butter cups are too sweet for me because I milk chocolate too much. But those dark chocolate cups, it was a real crisp, snappy dark chocolate, and you had that peanut butter, and that's exactly what this tastes like. It tastes like the best dark chocolate peanut butter cup you ever had in your lifetime. Of course, in fairness, I'm on my second beer and second whiskey, and this one is 116 proof. So, my judgment may be slightly impaired. So, folks that may be offended that I'm actually doing a video with alcohol and drinking it and maybe getting buzzed, maybe I'm not the guy you want to be watching.
Well, Tom,
not to interrupt. This one here, you're supposed to get, dark fruits off of.
Yes,
dark fruits. I missed the PMO. Wait a minute. Hold on. There might be some fig in here somewhere. Anyways, no, I'm really digressing.
Hey, Tom.
What though? Yeah, go ahead, Red.
You might be drinking beer on video, but at least you're not doing it on welfare.
Oh no! I stand on the freeway with the sign.
This isn't coming from a housing project.
I will drink to get buzzed. I stand right on the off ramp with the sign that says "I will drink to get buzzed."
Oh, I thought it was going to be "I'll show leg for beer."
Oh,
that's right.
I'll show a little bit of leg for beer. There you go, Scott.
Well, hell, I'll sell sperm. I'll do whatever.
Yeah, I mean, when you're doing a beer review from a housing project, oh boy, that's one I'll scratch my head on that one.
I have to applaud you, Red. I did love that little post that you posted up because of the fact that it had the one little meme right next to it that was talking about if you're drinking high quality beer and whatnot and you're on welfare, you shouldn't be.
Well, if you can spend literally hundreds upon hundreds of man hours making YouTube videos And in the YouTube videos, you are recording yourself consuming thousands of dollars worth of alcohol, and you're living in public housing, and you're on some sort of public benefit, claiming you're disabled or whatever. I don't
Mentally.
know about you guys, but to me, that's a little suspect, because if you got
That's
that
more
much
than a
time,
little suspect.
well, if you got that much time to make a YouTube video, I mean, couldn't you do some data entry a couple days a week? Couldn't you stuff envelopes? Couldn't you do something to work? I mean, to me, it's criminal for someone to live in a housing project, to collect quote unquote disability, and then record themselves getting drunk on a YouTube video. And not only getting drunk, but drinking high-end booze, drinking high-end beer, going to shop at a high-end grocery store, eating the finest cheeses, drinking wines, drinking ports. I mean, hey, well, what a country we live in, huh?
Right. I mean, you can get nothing for free.
Yeah, so hey, but you got to live with
You know
yourself.
what?
That's all I
I'm
can
going to
say.
interject here real quick. I mean, I'm a believer in the social programs this country has. I don't think anybody should starve to death. But there is that point. I mean, yeah. I mean, if you
No,
could
but it
spend a
wasn't
lot of
meant to
time
be
and money
lived on.
on alcohol, maybe you could do a little bit of work. I mean, I'm a working class guy. I've actually been
I would
criticized.
not
You guys know
digress
that
if she
about
was
me.
drinking a box Rianiti.
Is that right?
I mean, if it was like a box Rianiti or some 40 ounces, I would not digress.
Yeah,
But
it's
yeah, I
just
mean, you guys have all heard me talk about the price of craft beer and the price of whiskey. I am rather frugal. I do buy some high-end stuff from time to time, but then I don't buy other things, and we never starve. You know, it's just I just think, you know, I mean, I'm always looking for a bargain. Most of the craft beer I buy it on sale. Most whiskey I buy is when it's on sale that week. But then, you know, I don't know.
well, I think we're going to see a wave of a lot more reviews. The first of the month is coming up, so
Yeah, I agree.
be ready for a couple of reviews.
So have I
Anyway, but
told you about this 116 proof whiskey I'm drinking? Uh, it might be affecting my memory at this point. Oh my gosh. Do I pour myself in another shot? Oh my god, this stuff is. I mean, I've been talking to you guys for just shy of 30 minutes again, and I've already knocked down almost 2 shots of this stuff.
yeah,
But see, now
Tom, you know,
I've admitted how much I've drank tonight in this video, so people are going to accuse me of being drunk.
yeah, I'm concerned about the high volume of alcohol you're consuming in such a short period, Tom. You know. So anyway, speaking of
Who wants
high,
to drive me home? Do either? Can you? I'm going to hand you my car keys. I got them right here. Do either of you want to drive me home? Okay. See, now I've got to. Now you went too far. Tom. Yeah, I'm going to tell you a quick story. I used to always say that I go right to the line and I blow it up. And then Seamus said to me one day, he said, "Dad, you don't blow it up. You go right to the line where you know you should stop talking, and then you throw a party. You dance all over it. You have a celebration. You know you should stop, but then you celebrate that you didn't." I said, "Well, you're actually right." So I gave him credit that day. So.
right. Well, you know, you're not hurting anybody. You're in your own home. You're just having a couple. You're relaxing. So I wouldn't
That's all
worry
that
too
matters.
much.
So on that note, let's bring it back positive again. So we talked about the influence that Lemmy had on rock and roll, which was pretty immense. We all talked about some whiskey and some beers.
Rum, Tom. I had a rum.
Rum. You had rum. That's right. I had one. See, maybe I have had too much.
Yeah, it was that blueberry
And
rum that
Scott
sounded
just
really good.
Scott didn't have whiskey. He doesn't have whiskey money, but he's got Utopia's money. I can't.
Yeah, guilty as charged there.
I'm getting some fig. Okay. Anyway, so Who's drinking what now? Anybody on to something different? What do we want to talk about next?
Well, I'm wrapping it up with the Ballantine Burton Ale.
Oh, you're back
That's
to the Burton.
11
If you're
point.
on to three now, see now I thought I was going too fast, but now I realize I'm going too slow. I can't keep up with you, Red.
That's 11.3% alcohol by volume, 75 IBUs, and this is the legendary Christmas beer that was brought back this year by Ballantine. Hadn't been brewed in since the 1950s, so I'm really enjoying this one. So this is one that I'm going to sip and savor, and then I'm going to call it a night after that, only because I have to get up pretty early tomorrow morning. So
Now, have you had the original?
I have, yeah. I actually
And
want
how
to.
does this compare?
It's a little different. It's kind of hard for them to be the same because the original, remember, was aged in oak from anywhere from 7 to 20 years.
Right.
The versions that I had, that I purchased, I won an auction about 10, 12 years ago, and the ones that I had was brewed in 1946, and they were bottled in 1966 and 67. So
Nice.
I drank one. I shared one, and I sold one to actually a brewer, and he actually went and had it analyzed. He brought it to his lab, and they analyzed it. And it was really cool because he sent me all the specs back on it. And I wish I'd known what I did with that paperwork, but they broke it all down, and he had all the IBUs and everything, and it was, I think he told me 63. So it's a very interesting beer. I wrote on my blog, which is like non-existent. I wrote an article about it. I'll forward it to you guys. It gives.
I've seen your original post about that. That was really good.
Yeah, it's got a little bit of history.
So
What's that?
Pabst is reviving that. Do they intend on keep doing it, or was this a one and done?
I hope it's not a one and done. And I think with the success they've had with the Ballantine IPA, and the success they've had and they're going to continue to have with this, I think this is going to be something they're going to brew every year. I really hope they do.
Very nice. Well,
Distribution,
I hope so, yeah.
Distribution on this was limited to New England, Pennsylvania, Delaware, and Maryland. So, there was only the 6 New England states in those states I mentioned.
For the people who haven't seen the Ballantine, I do want to throw up the original.
Nice.
Can't get like a really good screenshot of it for you guys, but
oh wow, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's the IPA. That's a great beer. They've done a tremendous
really
job
good
with that. I
gotta tell you, that IPA was darn impressive. I mean, wow, you had the malt, you had the balance. It felt like a traditional IPA. It's not what it's not what a lot of younger craft beer drinkers, Scott aside, are looking for an IPA these days. But man, I just thought it was incredibly impressive.
Well, for me, it was one of the most impressive beers I've had in 2014, 2015. I think, for me, I say it's the benchmark example of what IPA is. If somebody wants to know what an IPA is, I said drink a Ballantine IPA, because that is a benchmark of what the style was, is, and should be. Now, all these other ones that have kind of changed it, and the ones now like a IPA has to be drank super fresh. I mean, no, it doesn't. I mean, if you understand the style, that's false. That's patently false. I mean, that's become almost a sub-style within the style now. The wet hop IPAs, ones you got to drink within a certain time period. But no, IPA is a style that is meant to be aged. It doesn't have to be consumed super fresh. So.
Right. I mean, how long did it originally take the ship to get from England all the way over to India to begin with? I mean, that's what you really got to look at, okay? So they chocked full this barrel full of beer that was considered to be a pale ale at the time, and they chocked it full of hops to preserve it for the trip over there.
Because hops are a natural preservative, as is alcohol. That's how the Imperial Stout came about, for the same reason.
Right, and it improved with age on the voyage, and then it was in such a great condition when it finally got to India. So, but like with anything, styles evolve and styles change. But if you want a benchmark example, that's a perfect example of a benchmark example. I don't have any problems with a lot of these newer IPAs. I like them myself, but don't tell me I got to drink an IPA within 90 days or 60 days, and if not, it's old. I mean, that's absolutely ridiculous.
Right. Yeah, and hey, I got to ask you a question though. With Pabst reviving the Ballantine brand and doing these beers, which are essentially craft beers on the level they're doing them, do you think they're going to dabble in more, craft examples?
Well, I understand that they're going to do more regional examples. What their game is they're going to bring back a lot of the old school regional beers from regional breweries that were done centuries ago, pre-Prohibition or right after Prohibition. I think we touched this last time too, Tom, a little bit, that a lot of these breweries that have, long since gone, brewed porters, brewed IPAs, brewed Bock beers, brewed these styles that, were more than just, your average macro lager. So, yeah, they're going to bring back a lot of traditional American beer styles that were brewed by breweries that were once regional favorites that are now gone. And I think that's a wonderful thing. I think that's a good way for them to go. They can continue to brew their swill, which is popular. I mean, come on, like Pabst Blue Ribbon, I can choke it down
which
ice
they
cold.
now own back.
Yeah, I mean, look, Blue Ribbon, it's swill, okay? If you like swill, that's fine. But don't tell me a swill like Pabst Blue Ribbon is as good as a German Helles or a Dortmund.
No,
it just isn't.
Not. I mean, it's
Okay.
I haven't looked at their website lately, but they used to actually say on their website in a very proud way that it contains a lot of corn syrup, not corn grits. It contains corn syrup. I mean, the intention was to drive up that alcohol and use as little malt as possible. That's why you use corn syrup. That's why Pabst Blue Ribbon is very, very sweet.
It was pretty much like a professional style or big style, how do I want to say this, a more conglomerate at the time brewing company, excuse me, to do a home brewer's beer. More along the lines out of, liquid extract.
Could be.
Yeah, could be. I don't know.
I mean,
but anyway,
that's just the way that I would look at it as a potential home brewer, is that, I can brew perhaps Blue Ribbon out of a can.
You got a lot of corn syrup on hand. You can.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. There's.
Well, Tom,
here's I don't knock folks for liking beers like this. I don't make fun of people at the bar for drinking macros. I just don't. I think everybody ought to enjoy what they want to, but don't try to convince me it's a quality beer, because it's not.
Go ahead,
Tom. Tom, you've made the analogy like, okay, I like to go to McDonald's every now and then and have a McDonald's hamburger, or I like to, every now and then go have a box of Twinkies. There's nothing wrong with that, but
Yeah.
I put swills on the same level as those type of things. To me, a beer like, I don't know, Budweiser is like a Twinkie. I mean, it is what it is. It's
McDonald's double cheeseburger.
Yeah, I mean,
you
it's.
know what? If you like sardines, that's okay. Slap a sardine on a cracker. I don't have a problem with it. But don't tell me it's sushi. You can't tell me it's the same quality fish as I'm getting in the sushi, because it's not.
It's not gourmet. It's just what you can afford.
With slapping down a sardine, I'm not going to kiss you afterwards. But there's nothing wrong with eating one. But don't try to convince me it's sushi.
Here's the idiotic mentality. Here's the mentality of some of these idiots. They'll say just because it's popular and people like it, and it wins gold medals at the Great American Beer Festival, well, then it must be a good beer. No. It's a crap beer that's popular, and the reason it gets a medal, well, it gets a medal in its style. And what is its style? The style itself is a shit style. So there you go.
An adjunct lager.
Well, just because a fast food chain sells a whole lot of hamburgers doesn't make it a quality burger. I mean, that logic doesn't make sense. It
Right,
doesn't
just
make
because you sell 43 million hamburgers or
It
cheeseburgers
doesn't
doesn't mean that you're
necessarily mean
good.
it's good. Hey, I know when I'm buying that burger, I know when I'm buying it is I'm not getting a quality burger, but I'm looking for a specific taste at that time. I buy Olympia beer every chance I get. Anytime I see Grain Belt, I buy it because there's some nostalgia to those two beers for me. I know I'm not buying quality beers, but I enjoy them because they bring back memories for me. And that's
Well,
okay, but don't try to convince me those beers are quality.
well, I have my preferred swills too, and for my own reasons, I like Narragansett Lager. Now, Narragansett Lager, as far as the swill goes, is a very good swill, but I recognize the fact that it is swill. It is not a great beer. It's not using the best ingredients on the market. Now, if you want to drink swill and you like swill, that's great. I think most people who drink swill drink it for a couple reasons. Some it's because beer really isn't that important to them. All they're looking to do is knock something back and pour alcohol down their throat. Taste, smell, all that stuff doesn't even come into play. Other people can't afford anything better, so they drink that kind of stuff, and maybe if they do like the taste of beer, they go out and buy singles and they do their little YouTube videos of the singles, but they don't buy craft beer by the six-pack. They have a refrigerator full of swill in their refrigerator because really they want to knock back swill to get drunk, and that's all there is to it. But that's fine. Whatever you like, you like. But don't, again, don't try to tell me swill is as good as a German Helles. It isn't.
Oh, no.
And
No.
the thing
That's kind of
too
the
is like,
point,
look,
right?
there are some very affordable, excellent beers on the market, and if you have an Aldi in your market, you can go get a German beer that is better than any swill you would ever drink for about $1 more. Or you can drink, as Scott's just putting up there, for $1 or $2 more, you can buy Sam Adams Boston Lager. So it is what it is. So anyway,
I just think in most markets you can buy a 12 pack of of something. I mean, in my market, I've got Boulevard. I could get their Pilsner for about $6 a 6 pack. I mean, you could buy a good, which is an adjunct-free Pilsner, by the way. So I mean, you can buy good beer. I think in probably every market. Dundee, a 12-pack runs $11 in my market. I mean, now maybe it's not craft beer, but it's not swill either.
exactly. And again, it is what it is. If you're buying 32 packs of natural light ice or natural natty ice, well, and that's the beer that you want to drink with a ham sandwich, well, I think you're just trying to pour alcohol down your throat. That's what
Right.
I think. But
That's just what it is.
that's what it is.
And I think that's the difference between macro drinkers and craft beer drinkers. Is macro drinkers drink with the intention of getting drunk. Now, craft beer drinkers will get drunk, as I as I am a living testament to, but that's not the intention. The intention is to enjoy. It's like the difference between driving 100 miles down the highway and driving 60 and looking around and enjoying the scenery. Craft beer drinkers want to go slow. We're the low riders of the. We want to slow it down and enjoy every bit, while the macro drinkers just want to get to drunk as fast as possible.
But what craft beer, Tom, would you match with potato chips?
Potato chips. You know what? If I was having I never eat potato chips alone, so I'm a little bit of a snob that way, I guess. If I'm having a potato chip, by golly, I'm having some French onion dip. But sometimes my money's low, so I buy the generic version up. But I'm always pairing my potato chip with a French onion dip. But the beer I would pair with that, I'm gonna say, in my neck of the woods, the Boulevard Pilsner I said earlier, the Mother's Towhead Blonde. Only runs about $8 in my neighborhood. I think that would work. What else? I think I got something else. White River, White Creek Wit, a nice wit beer I can usually get for about $8 in most stores too. Damn,
Excellent.
I'm good.
Now, if I'm
Sometimes
going
I
even on the
even
same
impress
line,
myself.
but if I'm going on the same line, even with sticking with my favorite beer company, I would pair, the same thing. Even if I had a ham sandwich, like suggested, I would take the chips, the
Boston
ham sandwich,
Lager.
and not only the Boston Lager, but it depends on the way that I'm feeling as well. Because if I want something a little bit more hoppy, then if it's warm outside, especially ham sandwich, chips, I'm thinking warmer weather. I would go with Sam's Whitewater Wit. It's the
There you
white
go.
IPA.
Oh, that
I
works.
mean,
Yeah.
I
I
would
said the
assume
White
that.
River, but yeah.
But if it's colder
Excuse me.
outside, I would probably think maybe something along the lines of their holiday porter.
That's going to drown the chips.
It would drown the chip, but it would not drown the ham.
You're right.
Now,
The ham. Now, a nice ham could stand up to some big beer.
I think holiday porter would go really well with potato chips and a pastrami on rye with a big
Oh
pickle.
yeah. Oh
Oh,
yeah.
pastrami. Oh, so okay. If
Oh
we're
yeah.
talking pastrami on rye, see now we got a whole different scenario going on. Oh, see, so we got a peppery beef, a peppery cured beef. Oh, let's see, what beer would go great with that? I'm thinking.
Rogan beer.
So what you're looking
Oh
for?
yeah.
You could either go big double IPA with a pastrami, or you could go just a big porter or stout.
Dunkelweiss.
I would go with Red's
Oh
first
yeah,
suggestion.
you're right. Oh gosh,
I would
yeah,
go
that's
with the
perfect.
Rogan beer. I would go with the Dunkelweiss, or I would go with the
Yeah,
Dunkel.
Rogan. I go Rogan with the rye. I go the rye. Yep, you're
Yep.
right. You're
The
right.
rye beer would work perfect with that.
See,
A
I
Hefeweizen would probably
acquiesce.
work
I
real well
will
with that.
admit when I'm wrong, people.
Um, to be honest with you, I would even damn it. I would probably go even bigger, man. I tend to like Sam's Doppelbock when they do release it, so therefore I would even go with that because of the fact that I love that big caramel roasty, slightly smoky flavor.
Oh, hey, go big or go home.
And I've got
Right.
your plums hanging, Scott.
You know, I just turned 50 this year, and now my plums are hanging a little lower than I would like.
You
I've
got to
got
get
to
longer
where I
shorts.
almost have to wear two pairs of boxer briefs to keep them from hanging to my knees.
You got to get what the South calls short pants.
Anyways, wow. So I switched back. I didn't want to do another, I wanted to stay drinking some whiskey, so I switched back to my smoked whiskey because, that 58% whiskey was kind of making me see things funny.
I don't know, Tom. You're making this awful hard to watch.
I think that's the point, right? If you're drinking beer and whiskey, shouldn't we all be having a good time? Why does everything have to be so stiff and formal? Can't we just have fun with it?
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I said I like going to the bar and having a couple, but these days you really can't. You got to be so careful. So it's nice having the virtual pub and just sitting there relaxing and having a couple and just shooting the breeze. So this is a good thing. I like the format, Tom. It's
But
working.
in a younger
That was
view,
kind of the point.
but in a younger view, isn't that, how do I want to say this properly, stylistic? Because as the pub has aged, the tavern per se has aged. I mean, the tavern was a place for social events, for social gathering. It was made to be like this.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I mean, people have become synonymous with alcohol. Okay, that's a dingy, dirty place. You don't want to go there. But it really isn't. I mean, sometimes it could be a very formal place to, gather with your friends and conversate and enjoy some libations. And it could be a very proper and prim place. But at the same time, I'm I will be 35 next year. And even in my age, I'm like, I don't want proper and prim. I want somebody that I can kick back, sit back, and enjoy a beer with. Whether it's a craft beer, whether it's their swill, I will not be drinking swill. Thank you very much. But anyway, I'll enjoy my beer and I'll still conversate with anybody because of the fact that this is the way that people are supposed to act. We are not generally offended by exactly everything that underneath the sun. But at the same time, I feel, in my age that things are slipping because everything has to be prim, proper, in its place, and it doesn't.
No, you tell those people, Scott, go fuck
Well,
yourself.
Right.
yeah. Well, Red, the term pub means public house. It's where people gather to talk. And
And,
here's
and
the thing. You hear so much today about how political correctness has run amok. There's another side to that argument that I bring up from time to time is that sometimes politeness has been forgot about too, and there is a way to meet in the middle. But when we're in a pub, things shouldn't be politically correct. You should be able to talk about whatever you want to. You should be able to, uh, you know, talk about any subject you want to because you're here with friends. And even if you make somebody mad, the next day you're talking about it again. And that's what a pub is all about, isn't it?
either that or you're too drunk to remember the conversation.
And that's okay too.
I am one to say that I am a drunken sailor. I've got a mouth like a sailor, and I rightly don't care. I mean, I just feel that people nowadays have become too stylistic. And I don't mean that just in beer. I mean that just in life in general. And they are offended by every single thing on the planet.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm from a different generation, I guess. I mean, that I don't know what that's all about, and I'm glad I don't. I mean,
Right.
I don't know. Like I said, I don't know. I think I've had too many now. I
No,
think the Valentine Bert.
I think
I
you're
think
right about. I think you're just about primed to say what's on your mind, Red.
I I generally think that, I've been sitting in a pub with people, even older than you gentlemen, and it's just like they've called me what is said to be an old soul. And it's like I don't generally hang around people my own age. I don't correlate with them. I generalize with people that are older than me, that are, wiser than me. But at the same time, it's just like I get it. I like those older styles. I like how the world used to be. I don't like how it's going today. And that's the way I also see the craft beer industry until the bubble supposedly pops, the theoretical bubble. And I can't generalize with these hop heads nowadays.
Well, I think what's going to happen eventually, it's going to be like in the early '90s, and Tom will remember this. The mid '90s, there were a ton of breweries, brew pubs that popped up. I mean, you couldn't go a week without a new brewery, brew pub open. And eventually, what's going to
get bigger, and then it kind of crashed.
yeah, it's good. They're going to have a shakeout, and the shakeout's going to happen again. And unfortunately, in the shakeout, some of these very good little small breweries are going to disappear as well. But the ones that are in it just for the money and aren't really doing too well with the beers are going to, implode. But the way the things go, the market gets too saturated, and some of these places that are putting out really, really quality beer are going to end up, tanking too. It's a shame because I'll give you a personal story real quick. When John and I were in Rhode Island together in the early '90s, there was a brewery called the Emerald Isle Brew Works, and it was a small, tiny little brewery that brewed cask conditioned ales only. Okay, these guys were pretty much way ahead of their time. I mean, Newman's in Albany was the only one that was similar to that. They were doing beers that were for cask conditioned ales. But for Emerald Isle, for them to serve their beer, they had to get accounts at bars that would actually install a beer engine so their beer could be served properly. So they couldn't serve beers in a lot of places because a lot of them wouldn't get on board with buying a beer engine and investing in a beer engine. But the ones that did, I can tell you, some of the most amazing beers I've had, this side of the pond, not in Britain, cask conditioned ales came out of that tiny little brewery. At the time, they weren't even calling them nano breweries; they were calling them Pico. It was that small. But they went under. They were way ahead of their time. But had they come around maybe in this era, in this time, they might still be in business today. But that's just the way it goes. The good ones are going to go out with the bad ones, but the shakeout will happen. It will. You can't keep going up, 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 up. And I know you've said this before, Tom. There's trends. Trends come up, trends come down. Eventually, the bubble will burst, and the shakeout will happen. And a lot of these breweries that are with us now won't be here in the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years.
I mean, I don't mean to sound hateful when if and when it happens, because we all know that it's going to happen. But I can't wait per se, because of the fact that we're sitting at like almost 4,400 breweries in the United States now. I mean, that's an astronomical compared to what we were at in Prohibition, or pre-Prohibition. And now it's just like, you can't go down the block without hitting somebody that says, oh, well, check out this nano brewery or this micro brewery or this, this new place that has just put in this new tap system. And it's like, okay, but I know I have millions of choices nowadays. But at the same time, number one, who's doing it right? Because this year alone, I've gotten sick twice at a single spot, because they didn't clean their systems right.
Yeah, a lot of folks don't know how you are right. I've had that issue as well.
I mean, you have to do it right. You have to make good beer. You have to present it properly. You have to have cleanliness.
Clean your lines.
Cleanliness is the number one golden rule.
Right, and I've run into the same problem myself, so we'll see. So anyway, Tom, what do you figure? How long are we going now? You want to wrap it up, or what do you think?
Well, we've been on for over an hour, but I did want to make a comment here to what Scott said earlier, and I'm going to get a little bit mellow, because he mentioned being an old soul. Everybody that ever met Seamus always said Seamus felt like an old soul to them. So, Scott, anytime somebody says that to you, you take it as a compliment, because trust me, they mean it that way.
And it is a compliment, Tom. It means you're wise beyond your years, and that's a good thing. And
I've met some great men that have said that, and I've taken it as such. And like, that's why I said, I mean, especially the admins that I consider my peers. You guys have been utmost and comforting to me, especially when I am a brewery loyalist. But that said,
but you know what? I respect that about you. I don't always agree with everything you say about Sam Adams or Boston Brewing Company, but I respect that you are that loyal, and both can be involved. I cannot agree and still respect you at the same time.
Scott, you have to really watch the last Beer Whisperer pub session that Tom and I did, because we really blow you.
And I will do that.
All right. Anyway, guys, I'm gonna check out, because I do got to get up kind of early tomorrow. So, do we want to wrap it up?
Right.
And maybe...
Yeah, go ahead.
So, hey,
right, Tom, wrap it up.
I want to thank folks for joining me at the pub. Red, you want to say any parting shots?
I think I've taken my shots, so don't worry about that. So I'm good.
How about you, Scott? Any parting words of wisdom?
My words of wisdom is hell with Rate Beer and Beer Advocate. Just drink what you like.
I agree with you. I've been saying that for years. My parting shots, my parting notes, my parting words of wisdom are drink and enjoy. You know, don't spend your time being mean, hateful. Just enjoy your time. So hey, I'm Tom the Beer Whisperer. We are at the Beer Whisperer pub, and we'll be back soon, I hope.